I'm Courtney Hart, I'm a celebrity makeup artist. Today I am here at Merle Norman. I want to take you guys behind the scenes, show you how I create beautiful special event makeup that looks beautiful in person and on camera. When we are doing event makeup, we need it to stay. So this might be the most important step when doing your eye makeup in this scenario. You have to prime the lid, okay? So I'm using this is an eye primer. What this is going to do is it's going to help your makeup stay much better, much longer, but also is gonna give you much better color payoff. The trick with this is to not go overboard. You only need a small amount. This is something that I always do. I work in very thin layers that are breathable and natural. But this will give your eye makeup something to adhere to. You don't have to use an eye primer. You can use a little bit of concealer. You can use your foundation. I like using a specific eye primer just because it's made to do the job that it's doing. The formula is designed to give the product something to adhere to, so it's not sitting directly on the skin, which is why it creases less, it stays longer. I also recommend whenever you're using an eye primer, do not stop at the lid. We want to pull it all the way out and up so that when you do apply the eyeshadow, it's seamless. Okay, we're gonna start doing her eye makeup with one of my favorite tricks. I love this because it's so easy. I'm gonna use her bronzer on her eyes. We're just doing this to create a really natural shadow on the eye. So I'm gonna take both colors in here, and this larger eyeshadow brush, the size and shape of the brush does matter. This is a loosely dense brush, so it's not gonna pack the color on too harshly. We want, again, everything to be soft and buildable. Another tip I have for applying any sort of eyeshadow is to tap, not drag. This is going to apply the color and not get you fallout all over the eye. So we're gonna tap it on with one brush, and then with a clean brush, I'm gonna swipe it out and blend it. I think a lot of times the thought is that event makeup needs to be dark, it needs to be intense, but really what event makeup is that's different than everyday makeup is it photographs well. That's really it. So it's knowing where to apply light and shadow that will actually photograph well and not disappear, because flash photography blurs out colors. So we have to just know how to work with a flash. We're doing makeup that is not for the naked eye, but for a camera. Now I have a smaller brush, and I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna do the same underneath. Look up for me. We're just creating a shadow around the whole eye. We don't always have to do a smoky eye for event, so I wanted this look to have the same sort of intensity, but maybe a little easier than a typical smoky eye. So we've shadowed the whole lid, and now we're gonna go in with this beautiful shimmery color. The trick with shimmer, again, is we're gonna pack it into the brush. We want it to be really in the brush. I don't want it to be on the surface because it's just gonna fall all over. So really work it into the brush, tap off the excess, and then I'm just gonna place it right in the center of the lid. Shimmer right in the center of the lid catches the light really, really well and looks beautiful in photos. And then we always blend. So I have a clean brush again. Okay, since I work in thin layers and I'm now kind of seeing that I want there to be a little bit more intensity. This might be perfect for every day, but this is where that event makeup situation really comes into play. We need to bump this up a little bit in order for it to be seen on camera. So I have this little applicator that comes with the palette, and it actually mimics really well just using the pad of your finger. Just use this sponge tip and press onto the lid. But do you see the difference in when we started this to when we finished this? Just how much more color payoff we have, how much easier you can see it. It's just gonna show up much better and just be a little more special. Like we're event, we're a little more special than every day. What I love about this makeup too is that if you wanted, you could stop here. This could be your whole look. You could add some mascara, throw on a cream blush, ready to go. Or you can just keep adding steps to add more intensity. Something to be mindful of when you're doing your makeup for any situation is what your lighting is like. Try to avoid doing your makeup in overhead lighting because that's just gonna cast shadows onto your face and it's not gonna give you a realistic view of what your makeup is gonna look like. So try to do your makeup with light that is shining onto your face. Outdoor light is the best. I sometimes will even take a photo of my makeup with a flash afterwards just to see how it photographs before I leave. This is a trick I use with my red carpet clients all the time. I never let a client walk out the door for a red carpet before I photograph them with a flash and see what it looks like on camera. The camera just sees things that you don't to the naked eye. This is beautiful on its own, but we want to make it a little more dramatic. So I'm gonna use the darker shade in this duo, and I'm gonna use this brush. See how it's like pointed at the end? It's designed specifically to sit right in this area of the crease. You can lay it this way, and it will get in the outer corner and then sweep right up into the crease. And I just want to intensify this area like a V right here, and then we'll blend it so it's soft. So always get product on, and I always like to tap just so we have the smallest amount of product possible. And then I'm just softly going into her crease, like a windshield wiper motion. Then again, I have this clean brush to blend. And I'm just sort of softly pulling everything up this way so it follows this natural line right here. And remember, we've put the eye primer here. This is all running out really smoothly, and the primer is gonna help hold that eyeshadow onto the eye. But you can see the difference between the two eyes. We've just bumped up to the intensity of this. And again, this is gonna photograph much better than this side. What a flash does on a photo is blows out some of the color. So we need the color intensity to be a little bit higher when you're doing it for photography. Today's look, we're going for smoldering, not smoky. But first I'm gonna show you a little trick that I use if you wanna make your lashes look thicker without applying a ton of mascara and a ton of fake lashes. So this is called tightlining, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna line, look down for me, we're gonna get black liner right underneath the lash line. What we're doing is adding structure to the line of the eye without adding eyeliner to the top, so you're not losing any lid space. We're gonna be lining all the way around, so you don't have to worry about it getting into the underwater line. But if you don't wanna line the bottom, you really just wanna like smudge the liner in between the lashes. This is gonna create the illusion of a thicker lash band and thicker lashes. So if you can see, just look at the difference between this eye and this eye. This lash looks thicker, it looks more full, and we haven't even added mascara yet. If I wanna do an eye look that's super natural, and I don't wanna use mascara or eyeliner, I will use this trick just to make sure that the eye has a little bit of definition. Okay, so now for the smoldering, we're gonna line the look up straight ahead for me. We're gonna line the waterline right underneath, and we really want this to stay. We don't want it to bleed. So the first trick I have is to make sure it's dry. So if you wanna take a little bit of a sponge and look up for me, and we're just gonna pull it down and we're just gonna pat it. We're using a waterproof eyeliner, but still, we just wanna give this the best chance possible to really adhere and stay as long as we need it to stay. Okay, so now I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna pull it down a little bit, and I'm gonna run this gently across the lower lash line. Okay, something I don't want you guys to miss is the inner corner. So if you could look this way, perfect, and up, perfect. And I just wanna get right in this little inner corner right there, and then look over here again, and up, and then I'm gonna get right in here. We want it to wrap all the way around. I think if we look from this side to this side, this is just another really good example of when micro changes make really huge differences in the impact of the makeup. Now we're gonna tie the whole eye look together by taking this deep color that we use through the crease in the outer corner, and we're gonna bring it right underneath here. So always pay attention to the brush again. Tools matter so much. This is another situation where I would say go light and slow. Build this up because this can get real dark real fast. So I'm using barely any eyeshadow because I know that if I want it to be a little bit darker, I can go back in with a little bit more. Now I really want to play with light because I know that the camera is going to pick up those shiny moments really well. So I want to bring some light under her eye. I'm going to take this shadow stick in the color Luna, and I'm going to get a little bit on a brush. And I'm gonna pop it right in the center underneath, like almost right under her iris. These are the little things that you might not notice as much in person, but when you get photographs back, make a massive difference. Okay, now before we move forward, I wanna talk about something that is super important. It is very hard to do an eye look like this without there being any fallout at all. So before you move on to doing anything on the face, I want you to make sure that you clean up under the eye. We want this to be pristine. We don't want to see any eyeshadow running. Even if you can't see it very well, there is fallout there. So I'm gonna take a cotton pad and a little bit of my micellar water, and I'm just gonna run that under the eye. This is a reason why I like to do eye makeup first, always, because I inevitably will get messy. And this allows me to not worry about what is on the face because I know I can clean it up, and then we'll move on to the face. You can also use my micellar water and a cotton pad to give you a straight line if you wanna really make sure that the eye makeup is pulling up in a specific direction. Okay, so our last touch is gonna be mascara, and I like to end with mascara because that makes sure that we don't get any eyeshadow falling into the mascara, which is going to take away from the intensity of the color in the lash. And that will definitely photograph as well if you have eyeshadow sort of mixed in with your mascara. The first thing I always do before I add mascara, and this is so important, is please curl your lashes. This makes such a big difference in how open, bright, and wide your eyes look. I'm using Fat Lash Mascara in black. If you look down, and I want you to start at the base of the lash and wiggle. Just wiggle the brush back and forth, because this is where we want the most product. We do not want a thick, clumpy lash at the tips. We want the bulk at the base of the lash. So I'm gonna do that and let that dry, and then I'll come back through and I'll do another coat and get the tips. If your lashes have a very hard time holding a curl, I find that waterproof mascara tends to help that a lot. Okay, so with our second coat, we're gonna go all the way through the length of the lash. And I sometimes like to push my lash up, and I use my thumb as a little bit of a guard. Okay, now before this dries, I want you to take this spoolie brush and run through your lashes. This will make sure that there's no clumps. You have a nice, fluffy, black, separated lash. If you want to add bottom mascara, which I think is so pretty, but sometimes can get incredibly messy, I want you to get a little angled brush like this in your mascara, and you're just gonna paint a little bit of the mascara on this little brush. And then look up for me. And then I want you to get it just at the base of the lash and pull it down just a tiny bit. We don't have to get product all the way down to the tip of the lash. Now we're gonna talk about when you make a mistake, because that happens. I just got mascara underneath her eye, and you know what? It doesn't matter, it's not a big deal. Now that I've sort of finished the eye look, we're gonna go back through and perfect. So we're gonna go review everything that we've done, and wherever we need to make little tweaks, we make them. Micellar water is your best friend. So I'm gonna go in with a Q-tip, little tiny bit of micellar water on here. Now look up for me. And I'm just gonna barely push through here. And then I can use the dry side to sort of reposition. Like I really don't even have to touch up the eyeshadow, but I got that off. And then if you close your eye, I also got a little mascara on the top. So I'm gonna go back through and make sure that's clean. A little bit more over here. Again, the little mistakes also make a big negative difference in your makeup. This is a beautiful smoldering eye. This is done. This could be totally done. But what's amazing about makeup is if you decide, I just need a little bit more, you can just keep going. Add another step. We're gonna take the dark color in this duo again, and I'm gonna press it into the upper lash line. And then you guys can see the difference between this one and this one. Something else you can do to make a difference is I wet the brush. A wet brush is going to create a much more dense, opaque eyeliner-like effect than just using the shadow dry. So I'm gonna load up the brush with the wet shadow, and then I'm just going to push it into mostly the outer corner of the lash line. I still want this soft, so I'm blending. If I wanted it to be more structured, I would have left it sort of just like a straight line. Now I'm gonna go right underneath, and I just wanna connect this right here. Then for blending, I'm going through with the bigger brush, and I'm taking her face powder again, because I don't want this to be too strong. So again, these are all small choices. You could have left it with that sort of like strong angular shape out here. I sort of am just wanting this to be soft. So I'm softening those edges, but do you see how like softly and easily I'm going over this area, and it's shifting the look completely. So on this side, we've taken that darker color from the duo right into the upper lash line and into the crease, and then pulled it up on the outer corner just to add more depth. This side, the upper lash line is kept clean, so it just keeps the lid brighter. We've cleaned up under her eye, we've cleaned up on the top. Now I'm just feeling like I want to add a little bit of shimmer right at the top. This is the cheek crayon in the color Radiant. It is so beautiful. I use this on eyes, I use this on cheeks, I use this on the décolleté to give some shine to the chest. This product is amazing. So right now I'm just gonna take a little bit on a brush, and I just wanna run it through the brow bone and in this area right here. I'm also going to take a small brush and Radiant and pop it just through the inside corner. Again, none of these steps you have to do. They're just these little additions that just keep elevating the look. Thanks for coming to set with me. If you guys have any more questions about special event eye makeup, talk to a beauty consultant at your nearest Merle Norman studio. For more beauty tips, go to merlenorman.com and click on Inspiration.